I've been on sort of a self-love kick, and I just had a really big breakthrough yesterday that I wanted to share with you all that's related to self-love and really connecting the dots between a lot of what I would call symptoms of lack of self-love that I was experiencing in my life and having a greater understanding of how those things were interconnected and related to one another. So some of the things that I've been experiencing in my life, which I'll share because I imagine some of you can relate, is not taking, I mentioned this in an earlier post about perfectionism, but not taking pretty small, fairly innocuous action steps that would be really, really, really supportive for me and specifically for the business that I launched just a few months ago. And instead, what I was taking action on were almost like very complex, highly convoluted other side projects that potentially would get me here, there, the other way, but pretty generally speaking, side tracks. So not taking those small action steps that would really support what I'm most passionate about was getting in my way, and I wasn't really sure why I didn't feel like taking those steps. Another symptom was always being worried about money. Would I have enough money? Would there be enough money? And I know I had been reading some books and watching some talks about scarcity consciousness versus abundance consciousness. The difference there being that in scarcity consciousness, you believe that there's always a lack. That if you're to get resources, you're taking away those resources from another person. Whereas in a consciousness of abundance, you think that there's always more. There's always more to come. There is always more energy, more time, more resources, more money. And that as you get more, it's not that you're taking away from anybody. In fact, you're becoming like a bigger waterfall that can then feed other streams. And I think in general, society now has a pretty strong lack consciousness, although more and more people are waking up to the abundance that we do live in and experiencing states of gratitude and eventually abundant living through that realization. So that was a shift that I was really trying to make in my own life, and yet I still came up against these incredible fears, which were almost like debilitating. And I had a session yesterday with my business coach, Megan Taylor Morrison. If any of you guys are interested, she's fabulous. I'll post a link to her in the comments below. But, she was like, I'm hearing you say all of these things, and I feel like they're interrelated. And I feel like they're interrelated around the concept of worthiness. And when she said that, I really realized how true it was and how I had been almost like trying to over-discipline myself to work harder, to do more, thinking that these basically the lack that I was experiencing in my life or that I was witnessing in my life had something to do with me not being good enough, not being deserving, not being worthy of all that I had worked hard for. And although in some cases giving yourself love and allowing yourself to feel worthy can actually be more difficult for many of us, I would say, than taking really concrete action steps, because it's almost like that surrender or that letting go process, that allowing yourself to feel the love that you already are, to feel the worthiness that you already are. But whether or not it's harder or easier for me, the clarity that provided and offered me gave me so much relief. For months, probably even years, but really months, it had been at the forefront of my consciousness, my awareness, all of these symptoms that I was experiencing. And at each one raised their head, I would ask myself, like, okay, I need to work harder, like put something else on my to-do list or push myself a little bit further, rather than realizing that it was really this allowing of a deeper worthiness to come to light. And as for allowing yourself to feel worthy, somehow even the clarity and the realization around that offered me that piece of myself back. I felt in that instant that I realized it, I don't feel necessarily 100% healed or something like that, but all of this worthiness returned to me, and it was really beautiful. So I just wanted to offer this experience to some of you who might be witnessing or realizing symptoms in your life and wondering if the answer is just to work harder, to go faster. And instead, I offer you another potential answer, and ask yourself this. Maybe even taking a moment to place your hands on your heart, closing your eyes to go inward. Do I feel worthy of the life that I desire? Do I feel worthy of my dreams? What really helped me through this was if the answer was no, then again, closing my eyes, I'll do this with you and imagining now yourself as a young child. Maybe you're daydreaming, building something, playing. Notice your age. Now I invite you to ask yourself, is this child worthy of his or her dreams? Just letting your answer to that sink in. And realizing that if it was yes, and I think it must really be yes for all of us, then you are worthy and you are deserving because you are still that child. It's still inside of you. And connecting to that, caring for, valuing, and allowing that to be your essence of worthiness is a huge step in the right direction. So I wish you guys all a good rest of your day and have fun being worthy.